Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're immersing ourselves in some really foundational beliefs, the ones that shape our financial lives. And we're exploring this powerful contrast drawn mostly from the text Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
It's a fascinating study, really,
Yeah.
because the author gives us these two role models. They're both intelligent, but just radically different.
Right. On one hand, you have his biological father, the poor dad.
Government educator, PhD, incredibly well-read, but he struggled with money his whole life and actually died with some pretty significant debt.
And then there's the other side, the rich dad.
A successful entrepreneur, never even finished the 8th grade.
Wow.
Yeah. But he became one of the wealthiest men in Hawaii. He built this huge estate, left millions behind.
And that's the core of it, isn't it? That paradox. Why does academic brilliance so often not translate into, financial freedom?
That's exactly our mission today. We're going to unpack those mindset differences. Because, the source argues that traditional school is great at what it does.
It teaches you to be a doctor, an architect.
Exactly. It gives you professional skills. But it completely ignores financial skills. What to actually do with the money once you earn it.
Which explains why so many highly educated professionals are just trapped.
Trapped. High tax brackets, tons of debt. It's a real crisis of financial programming. And that's learned at home, not in school.
Okay, so let's dive into that programming. Because the philosophical conflict between these two men was, it was almost black and white.
Completely opposed worldviews.
Yeah.
Especially when it came to money itself. Poor Dad, the more traditional view, he'd always say,
The love of money is the root of all evil.
that's the one. It was a moral stance for him.
But Rich Dad flipped that script entirely.
Completely. He argued, the lack of money is the root of all evil.
Just that one difference tells you everything. One saw money as a corrupting force, the other as a tool, a source of opportunity.
And it showed up in every piece of advice they gave. Poor Dad's advice was, study hard so you can find a good company to work for.
Right. Stability.
Rich Dad's was, study hard so you can find a good company to buy.
So the goal, the entire direction of effort, is just reversed.
And it even extended to things like taxes. Poor Dad believed the government should, use taxes to care for the less fortunate.
Redistribute wealth.
Right. Rich Dad, on the other hand, saw the tax system as a punishment. He argued it punished producers and rewarded non-producers.
And that this system is basically designed by the wealthy for the wealthy.
He was just keenly aware of the rules of the game. But the first actionable lesson that came from all this was about language.
The words you use.
Yes. Poor Dad would always say, I can't afford it.
Oh.
That's a statement. It shuts your brain down.
Lets you off the hook.
It does. Rich Dad forbade that phrase. He insisted they rephrase it as a question.
How can I afford it?
Exactly. And that simple switch is, it's revolutionary. Because a question forces your brain to work, to think creatively.
So I can't afford it is accepting a limitation.
And how can I afford it is about creating solutions.
Yeah.
It opens your mind up.
The author talks about being at this fork in the road. He had to choose his own way of thinking. He even compares it to that Robert Frost poem, The Road Not Taken. It wasn't about a job. It was about choosing a whole financial operating system.
And that choice leads us right to the foundation of Rich Dad's philosophy. Rule number 1.
Which is?
Financial literacy means you know the difference between an asset and a liability.
Yeah.
And you buy assets. Simple as that.
Okay, that sounds like something everyone should know.
You'd think so. But the source argues most people, even some accountants, get this wrong.
How so?
Because Rich Dad's definitions were super simple. Keep it super simple, the KISS principle. They're based purely on cash flow.
Okay, so break it down for us.
An asset is something that puts money in your pocket.
And a liability.
It's something that takes money out of your pocket. That's it.
And using that definition, he makes a pretty shocking claim for most middle-class people, that your personal home, the house you live in, is a liability, not an asset.
Financially, for the average person, it is. Think about it. It takes money out every single month.
The mortgage, property taxes, insurance, maintenance.
All of it. And
Yep.
crucially, it ties up a huge amount of your capital that could be earning you money somewhere else.
Yeah.
The opportunity cost is massive.
Okay, but I have to, push back on that a little.
Go for it.
Isn't that ignoring the long-term benefits?
Like what?
Well, like paying down your principal or just hedging against inflation, which real estate is great for.
And that's a totally fair point. And yes, the source acknowledges that nuance. Over decades, real estate can be a good investment. But his point is strictly about cash flow. If you're starting out, a big house is a big drain. The middle class, he says, is driven by emotion, keeping up with the Joneses. So they buy liabilities they think are assets. It creates huge risk.
So you end up with two completely different cash flow patterns. The middle class pattern is income from a job comes in.
And immediately flows out through taxes and payments on those big liabilities, the house, the car.
With very little, if anything, left over for real assets.
Exactly. It's a treadmill. The wealthy, though, structure their lives. So assets generate their income. That income then covers their expenses, and the rest gets reinvested into more assets. Their money is always working.
Which brings us to lesson number 1, how they learn to make money work for them. Tell us about the lead nickel story.
It's a great example of how Rich Dad taught. So the boys are 9 years old, and they want to make money. They start melting down old lead toothpaste tubes to forge nickels.
Oh, wow. So counterfeiting.
Right. And their educated dad explains, very logically, that it's illegal and immoral.
But Rich Dad's reaction was completely different.
He praised them. He loved their drive. He saw they were trying to create money with a system, not just earn it through labor. He said they were thinking like entrepreneurs.
And that leads right into this idea of the rat race. He argues it's driven by two really powerful emotions.
Fear and desire. It's a brutal cycle. First, you have the fear of not paying your bills, losing your job.
Just being broke.
Right. That fear forces you to get up and go to work every day.
And then when you get that paycheck.
The second emotion kicks in, desire or greed. You want the nicer car, the bigger house. So you spend more, take on new liabilities.
Which just makes the fear worse and locks you back into the cycle.
Rich Dad broke that cycle for them by having them work for free. He took away the 10 cents an hour. He wanted them to stop reacting emotionally to a paycheck.
So by taking away that little bit of income, he forced them to actually use their brains, to look for opportunities.
And that's when they invented their first true asset, the comic book rental library. They got all these old comics for free and had Mike's sister run it, paying her a cut. It was pure passive income.
So the real insight is that more money isn't the solution.
Intelligence is the solution. The way out of the rat race is to increase your financial intelligence, to use what's between your ears.
And once you make that mental shift, you can start using strategic tools. Let's talk about lesson 3, minding your own business.
This is so fundamental. He stresses the difference between your profession and your business.
Your profession is how you get your paycheck.
Exactly. It's your income column. Your business, on the other hand, is your asset column. The book uses the Ray Kroc analogy.
The McDonald's founder.
Right. Kroc was in the hamburger business, sure, but his real business was real estate. He knew the land under every single franchise was the true asset, generating value far beyond the burgers.
So the wealthy are always focused on building that asset column. And once you do that, you can tap into the biggest strategic advantage discussed in the source, the corporation.
This is the absolute key. For an employee, the cash flow is simple and highly taxed. You earn money.
The government takes its share first.
And then you spend what's left. Earn right arrow, pay taxes, right arrow, spend.
But with a corporation, that whole sequence flips.
It reverses completely. The corporation's cash flow is earn right arrow, spend right arrow, pay taxes. You spend on pre-tax expenses, and then you pay tax on whatever is left over.
And those expenses can be things like cars, travel.
Board meetings in Hawaii, sure. It allows you to legally pay for a huge range of things with pre-tax dollars, which massively reduces your taxable income.
Okay, but for anyone listening who's about to run out and file for an LLC, what about the admin burden? Is it always worth it?
That's the important nuance, yes.
Yeah.
The source highlights the advantage, but it implies you need that financial intelligence we talked about. You need good accountants. You need to stay compliant. For the financially illiterate, the benefit is huge, but it takes work.
Which leads us to another lesson. Work to learn, don't work for money. He recommends you actually seek out jobs for the skills you can acquire.
Especially skills that build your financial IQ, which he breaks down into 4 technical skills.
Let's get specific. What are they?
First, accounting, financial literacy, really being able to read the numbers and understand the story they tell.
Okay. Number 2.
Investing, the science of making money. That takes creativity.
3.
Understanding markets, supply and demand, but also the human emotion, the fear and greed that drive prices.
And finally,
Law, specifically, understanding tax advantages and how corporate structures can protect your assets.
but even with that foundation, the author says people still hit roadblocks. He lists 5 main ones.
Right. Fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, and arrogance.
Fear seems to be the biggest one.
It's the biggest. And the takeaway here is that winners aren't afraid of losing. If you're paralyzed by the fear of loss, you'll miss every single opportunity. Rich Dad saw failure as a learning moment. You only truly lose when you stop playing the game.
And in terms of habits, there was one he stressed above all others.
Pay yourself first. This is a radical shift for most people. The typical habit is to pay all your bills first, the landlord, the credit cards, and then you pay yourself with whatever's left over,
If anything is left over.
if anything is left. Rich Dad said you flip that. You fund your asset column first no matter what.
But what if you're short on bills then?
You use that pressure. That financial pressure becomes your motivation. It forces you to get creative, to find new sources of income to pay your creditors instead of just dipping into your savings or investments. It forces financial genius.
The last piece of the puzzle then is understanding that not all income is treated the same.
Not at all, especially by the tax code. There are three types. First, you have ordinary earned income. That's your salary. It's the highest taxed income there is.
Okay, then what?
Then you have portfolio income from stocks, bonds, and passive income from things like real estate or royalties. Those last two are taxed much, much less heavily.
So the whole game is to do...
Convert your high-taxed earned income into low-taxed passive and portfolio income as quickly as you possibly can. That's how you stop trading your time for money.
When you break it really comes down to the choices you make every day.
It really does. Every single dollar you have is a choice. You can spend it on a liability and stay in that cycle, or you can invest it in assets, or even just in your own financial education. Your salary doesn't define your future. Your habits do.
And here's the thought we want to leave you with, which comes straight from the source. Rich Dad always argued that the idea that it takes money to make money is, well, it's the thinking of financially unsophisticated people.
Right. He said money is just an idea, a tool. The most valuable asset you have, the one that really creates wealth, is your mind.
So wealth is created by changing your thinking and then applying that financial intelligence.
That's the real action item here. Invest in your financial education. Read, go to seminars, play the game. The goal isn't just to work hard and save. It's to play it smart, build that asset column, and make sure your money is working much, much harder for you than you are for it.